Well, thank you so much for being here with me once again on another episode of A Legacy of Love, Un Legado de Amor. And it is an honor, a privilege to have a guest today. Her name is Sara. Sara, thank you for being here with me today.
My pleasure, Analee. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I would love to know a little bit more about you and your life, your journey. We all have a different journey in our lives, as you know.
Yes, thank you. My name is Sara Roccisano. I'm the founder of Embolden Adventures. I'm an author and a speaker as well. And I love to share stories of transformation. And I am in progress right now, transforming from a life I knew for so long, 20 plus years, and working in the matrix, working in, Wall Street and New York City, and the life that I knew there, to where I am now, an entrepreneur, a world traveler, and a way shower.
Yes, well, that sounds fantastic. Wonderful to hear all that. And as you were saying, transformation, what comes to me, and I actually have my little butterflies here all the time. That's what I find like a butterfly. And that butterfly will fly as high as it wants with different colors. And maybe at a time it was in a cocoon and it was isolated or it was placed, at a different a position in their lives in a different season, but it's perfectly well and fine when you find yourself and you recognize that you want to have a transformation and it's never too late. I tell everyone that it's never too late to be your best version, be this beautiful butterfly, because that's how I see us as women, these beautiful, godly creation women that has we all have so much to offer that God is transforming us and making us into this beautiful flower, into this beautiful butterfly that's ready to fly. So I'm ready to hear your story about what you've actually, I believe it seems like you have something to share about your life and your job and your journey.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, I basically did what the world expects of you, right? Go to school, get a good job, go get your MBA, work hard, but work in the best companies and industries you can possibly be in, get the big deals, live the life. And I did that. But guess what? I lost my job three times in that process. I was out of work at one point for 2.5 years as a result of a multitude of layoffs. And, it just was a very hard existence, being on my own, working in male-dominated industries, high stakes, high pressure. Global sort of touch points. I was an investment banker for 10 years when I first got out of college. And while it was a very interesting experience because we were a top tier global investment bank talking to board of directors and, C-suite decision makers at our, clients' sort of perspectives and raising capital, I touched $30 billion of transactions in the time I've worked in New York City for 20 plus years. But all that sort of bright lights, big city sort of experience for so long catches up to you and you hit a breaking point, which I did in 2022. And I'm in the process of a beautiful transformation, just like a butterfly transforms out of the cocoon. And all of that has a lot to do with knowing who I am internally and connecting to the divine light within. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that because I was able to break free of that kind of construct I was into what I'm becoming now. And as a result, I'm able to create. I'm publishing my first book the end of this year, which is a part of my transformational travel series. And it talks about exactly what I went through from 2019 to today, working with Indigenous wisdom keepers and traveling the world and realizing who I am from within to get the courage to say no more and walk away from that old life.
Oh, wow. I'm listening to you, and I also get myself these goosebumps just thinking and listening to your words of a transformation and whatever fulfills you, that's what you have to go for. And I definitely understand about that, having a degree, having all these high expectations that are being placed on you. And it seems like it's a never stop road. You just continue, pursue this, now do this, now you have to do that. But what happens within you? Where are you at? There's something there that you have just so much more to offer. Not, it's not only about all these degrees, because I know about that. I also have my own and pursuing all these things. But what about yourself and your heart? What is it that you want to fulfill? You know, all these other aspects and desires that you want to go and pursue. And as we are talking before starting this recording, you mentioned about all these wonderful things that you said, okay, no, I'm not going there. I want to make a full transformation. So now I'm doing this. Would you like to share that with the audience? What is it that now you're doing, that you're pursuing, that you're excited about?
Well, as I mentioned, my book's coming out, so that's awesome. I'm really, really excited about that. So, as part of that, trying to balance that kind of intense existence that was my life in New York, I traveled the world, as I mentioned. I got scuba certified, and I wanted to kind of get away from what we called the leash, which was the BlackBerry at the time, and now it's your iPhone. But you're always on call on these deals. And in order to really kind of unplug, if you will, you had to travel far away and go underwater in some instances, which I did. And that allowed for me to really see the world in such a cool way, to help rebalance that sort of pressure and the kind of energies that were kind of building up in me that weren't suiting me and weren't making me, whole. And so while I was traveling, and even to this day, I document my experiences. And that was the launch of my beautiful encouragement platform called Embolden Adventures, as it is today. And so while I was on planes and while I was kind of living the life in New York, I would journal. And I've now turned some of my journals upwards to 20 into these books that are going to be coming out. So I've captured the experiences of seeing the world around me crumble in the 2008 financial crisis, for instance, where I had a front row seat to seeing the stock market and the bond markets and other sort of markets crash and burn, and then the recovery afterwards. And all that was happening, I was traveling. And so there are other examples too that, are in parallel to the history of the last 20 years, and then getting away on a plane and looking out the window and seeing nothing but a sunrise, the sun rays, and beautiful cumulus clouds. And that's where you really kind of get back to God, and you're like, wow, this is just immense. It's incredible. And there's so much more that meets the eye than beyond the cubicle, and the pressure to perform and succeed in that sort of matrix-like world that I was in. So now, as a result, I always had this kind of goal of mine, even as a young child, to write. Even though I went to engineering school and got my MBA in finance, it's very quantitative focus all these years. The writing still was finding its way to me, whether it was through journaling or communicating my love of travel. And then when I hit that brick wall in 2022, which we can go into what really kind of drove me to that breaking point, I said, that's it, I quit. Cold turkey. I'm going to write a book. And I declared that without any plan. And now here I am 3 years later, about to launch. I'm self-publishing. I'm launching a big business around it, a new rebranding, all because I decided to trust in the unknown and let the process unfold for me and be that my beautiful, authentic self and radiating outward that old world didn't suit really well. And now here I am, kind of reinventing again. And I'm just so thrilled to what's to come.
Most definitely. And what I'm seeing is I could see, you're glowing, you're excited, you're happy about these wonderful opportunities. And I think that the main point here is believing in yourself. As I'm listening to you, I'm like, there's a lot of people that are going to be out there listening and say, oh, but she was lucky. Oh, everything turned perfectly fine for her. Oh, she has it made. She had the connections, or there was someone there helping her, or, who knows. But taking those baby steps that I mentioned a lot in my book, A Legacy of Love, is very important. I think it's a priority for you to take those steps and to be willing to just be yourself, be vulnerable, and just give it a try and never give up. Well, if it doesn't go well, I'm going to continue pursuing. I know something's going to happen in the midst of that. Doors are going to be opening, and I will be able to fulfill that desire that I have, because it seems like even though you were doing all these wonderful things, there was something inside of you that was still willing and wanting and wishing to travel, to figure out what's out there in the world. You were not completely fulfilled in this area, and you wanted to continue seeking these other areas that you always wanted, like you're saying, journaling and what the world has out there, which I know it has just so much to offer. Wonderful places, food, the cultures. Definitely, there's from like Switzerland, Austria, and all that. People tend to be more liberal than not. You tend to learn so much what's out there. People do a lot of other things that we don't do here, as you know where I'm going, which definitely that wouldn't be a thing that I would be interested in. They're very liberal. With that, being said, and I know you understand where I'm coming from. Being out there in the sun, exposing their bodies and all that, I learned a lot. I respected that area, and it's not me, but it's good to be educated and to know about different cultures and different countries, as you said, and you've been able to travel to so many places.
Yeah, I love traveling. That's why I started Embolden Adventures because I felt that what was portrayed on TV, even back in 2016, even as early as 2010, when I realized I don't really like what I'm reading on the internet these days, you realize that the world is so different than what you're watching on TV. And I know that firsthand because I got to see it myself. And in case in point, the Middle East. I've been to the Middle East a bunch of times. I've been to the UAE, I've been to Jordan, I've been to Oman, and it's absolutely amazing. And when I was in the UAE, we went to Abu Dhabi, which is one of the Emirates, the seven Emirates of that country. And I was able to meet my doppelganger. Her name is Aisha. And how did I meet her? Well, we came across a photo of her in the New York Times one day, and she looked just like me. She had the head covering, I believe it's the hijab, and she was sitting in a classroom, which I think was a Western university. It might have been New York University, but I'm not 100% sure. A lot of those universities had found campuses in the UAE. And here she was getting a degree, and the New York Times profiled her, and she looked exactly like me. And so I said, well, I'm going to go to Jordan for this wedding. Our friends were getting married in Amman, Jordan. And so we were going to fly through on Emirates from New York City and lay over in Dubai. So I said, well, why don't we spend some time and travel to Abu Dhabi, which is only about a 45-minute car ride from Dubai, and see if we could meet her. And sure enough, I found her on LinkedIn. I sent a message and I said, I'm going to be in town. We look like twins. How about we meet? And she was so gracious. She took us to lunch, a traditional Emirati lunch. She had her driver basically give us a tour for free around the city. She took us to the Formula One racetrack, and she gave us gifts, these beautiful perfumes and other sort of, incense that's traditional for the Middle East. And she was just a joy. And she said, had you reached out to me even 6 months ago, I was in New York City, we could have met there. And that day, we met for a half day, but the memory lives on forever. And, I send her an email every now and then wishing her a Happy New Year. But just that, the power of connection and realizing that there's more than meets the eye when you step out of your comfort zone and you get on a plane and you see the world for yourself.
Yes, I definitely agree because it's not the same just to, listen on the news, or even on a magazine or hear about it. But when you actually go and you experience it is very different. To know more about the culture, what they eat, what they don't like, what they're accustomed to, and a lot more. But anyway, it is exciting to hear all these wonderful things that you are doing and that you decided, I'm not doing that anymore. No more Wall Street and all that about numbers and where the world is at, but it's more about what I want to fulfill. And with that said, what would your message be on this? What would you like to people to take with what you did with your life, and you just decided to change it and go and do something else?
Yeah, I heard you say a comment earlier about, what people kind of dismiss in some ways. Well, I can't do it because of this or that or the or she has it better than me for these reasons and yada yada yada. I hear that all the time. Whatever quote privilege people pursue, assume I have. And I I beg to differ, and I'm not here to say I'm a victim. I'm just here to say that we all have different circumstances, and we're all dealt with different set of cards. And, even though it may seem like, oh, I have my act together, I can do this, and this person can't, that's not true. I have my own challenges. We have our own set of challenges. And as, Biggie says, more money, more problems, right? Since I'm a New Yorker, Brooklyn's own rapper, Biggie. So more money, more problems. Like, so yeah, I mean, okay, fine, but there's still issues, right? And there's still things to overcome. And we're brought on this earth for our own individual missions. God brings us a purpose, and there's challenges that come along the way in getting through the gauntlet, the hero's journey. And so for me, yeah, like I still had challenges, but I still walked away from something big. That takes a lot of guts, right? Like I think the idea of like having a job and being, employed and coming to work and, doing the grind every single day. It's supposed to be what you're supposed to do. And that really can be draining. It really can take a toll on your mental health. It really makes you choose yourself second. And that's a lot of what I was doing for those 20 plus years. Uh, the job came first in these sort of high pressure situations, right? You were working till sometimes pulling all-nighters and not going home and sleeping. You were eating junk food that was getting delivered to the office. You were wearing these high heels that you are just hurting your feet all day, and these clothes are so uncomfortable and fluorescent lights. And you know your coworkers more than your actual family and friends. And then you say no to like going to dinner or vacations that have to get canceled because someone told you you have a deal to work on now. So there are trade-offs. And the question is ultimately, what are you willing to put up with at the end of the day? Because life's so short, right? You have to have boundaries and you have to say, I matter and I come first. And I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to trust away. Even though these defined paths just aren't really working for us anymore, the way we were told to like do our lives, get up, get a job, do it for 40 years and retire, and then, okay, you're set. It's not working anymore. As I mentioned, I got laid off 3 times in the prime of my career. At one point, I was out of work for 2.5 years, holding down my own mortgage by myself in my own apartment in Midtown Manhattan. Like, that was not easy. And, just to kind of put it bluntly, like you gotta grow, some real thick backbone to really kind of persevere and go after what it is you really want. Because if you sit in your apartment all day and continue to get job rejection after job rejection after job rejection for 2.5 years, it takes a toll on you, man. And so ultimately, what is it that's going to make you happy? Like it's just pushing a boulder up a hill only for it to fall back down on you again because it's just not working. So that sort of friction in your life, I think, is a call for action. It's,
Yes.
I'm not going to put up with that anymore. And I'm going to find what flows better, what makes me happy, what gives me smile, what, brightens my horizons, and trust that it's going to work itself out, even though it's not a defined path. I always say it's almost like you're in the rainforest in the Amazon and you have a machete in your hand and you got to cut the path. Don't take the predetermined path, find your own path. And then you'll be so empowered when you look back. You're like, look what I've accomplished. And I trusted that I'm going to be okay. And the world is unfolding in front of me now instead of, finding the kind of the way it's supposed to be and the way the external world tells me it has to be. So that's where the real courage is. And when you take that leap of faith and you trust in God, the beautiful blessings come to you. Like I said, I quit my career without a plan, and now here I am about to launch my book.
Wow. Well, I think that what we're going to end up staying with today is the fact of never giving up on your dreams, trying to pursue them, even though they might look a little challenging, hard, but not because people come into your path and they tell you that, oh, it's not going to happen. It's just too complicated. This is not going to be it. It's not for you. I think that you're supposed to believe in yourself, and regardless of what people say, you have to recognize what are the areas that you want to pursue. What are the things that you want to fulfill in your life? And then it's never too late to fulfill each and one of those. Just continue pressing on. And I must say, thank you so much for being here with me today. And where could people find you? How could they contact you before we finish?
Absolutely. So if you go on emboldenadventures.com, EMBOLDEN adventures.com, and you can shoot me an email, find me on social media, and if you go /book, you'll see the preview page. The book will be coming out, like I said, later this year. It's a part of a transformational series of my story from 2019 to today. And I go on these adventures. They're 100% true. And in this book in particular, I went on a 5-week adventure. I dared the universe. The universe laid me off in 2019. And I went on a trip from Morocco to the Amazon rainforest to the Andes Mountains in Bolivia. And while I was gone for those 5 weeks, completely removed from the world, the coronavirus pandemic was barreling down in New York City. So I left New York one way, came back to basically a lockdown city when I returned home. So I went on a transformational journey working with wisdom keepers in the rainforest and, connecting with God and nature and come back with a changed perspective and seeing the world, really change before my eyes. So it's a very incredible story, and I encourage people to sign up to my newsletter, and you can get the prologue as a free gift.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming and tuning here with us today. And see you on the next episode of A Legacy of Love, which we have a lot more to share. And thank you, Sarah, for being here with me today.
Thank you.